Yes, how to make a 32 millimeter mini lava base in Tinkercad. And we're going to print this out on the Creality K2 Plus. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That right up there. This is kind of an interesting little project because I've seen people that are like, hey, I want to build some bases, but I don't have a resin printer. I don't want to buy, bases because they're kind of expensive. Can I do it on a printer, and how can I make my own? Okay, well, you can usually do, paint or print a basic base, kind of a disc, 32 millimeter, about 5 millimeters high, and then throw, some cork on there and some glue and some other stuff, and you can make your base that way. There is a way that you can make a more uniformed, but yet random, kind of like lava base in Tinkercad. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. It's going to be interesting. Today I am rocking a dark roast latte with vanilla. Yeah, it's good. I love the coffee. I love the coffee. If you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link in the description box. But until then, let's get to the building in Tinkercad of this 32 millimeter base. So we're going to start off here. Oh, by the way, I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy. I'm American expat in Korea, and this is some of the stuff I do since I'm retired and I have time. So Tinkercad is kind of like a CAD program. It's really simplistic. At least I can do it, so there's hope for everybody else. With that, we have how to make a 32 millimeter miniature base, and basically you have your work plane here. You have over here some of the options. You can import, export, you can, some rulers, some other stuff. Basically, what we're going to end up doing is just when you start off is you're going to end up having some basic shapes. Now, with this, to make a basic 32 millimeter base that's about 5 millimeters high, we're just going to grab this cylinder here on the right-hand side. We can click that and we can bring it over here. So now in this description box, or the specification box, whatever you want to call it, what we're going to end up doing is taking how many sides, because if we zoom in on it, you can see a little bit of sides action there. So we're going to crank this up so it's pretty much smooth as much as we can, but if you wanted to, you could take this down to where, you even get a little bit of a polygonal type of shape thing. But we're going to go with round and bevel. The bevel function is where, let's see, if we go here and we do the bevel, you can see how it kind of rounds that out a little bit. We can get a little bit different. And then if you play with, the sides, you can do some interesting stuff. But we're going to keep that at 0. Excuse me, segments, where it can go all the way up to 10. And the segments will kind of round out that edge if we do a bevel. So that's where the segment comes in. You have more little segments, and if we take away, you can see how that works there. So usually, just for this example, we're just going to leave everything like that. And what we can end up doing is clicking on these little tabs down here on the bottom, little white box, and it brings up the numbers 20, 20, and then it is 20. So it's 20 meters X, Y, and Z. Now, if we wanted to move this around, we could grab this little square here, the black square, click and hold, and we could move that around. We could do that on the other axes as well. If we wanted to change the height, we could move that up and down. Or what we could end up doing is we could just kind of left click and we could just kind of move this around, but we want something a little bit more uniform. So what we can do is we can click on the white box here with the number, and we'll put 32. And then we'll click this one over here, and we'll do 32. And there is our 32 millimeter base. Now for the height, we can grab this and we can go up and down, and we're going to go down to, let's just say 5. We're going to be good to go. And there's your base. Boom. What you could end up doing is going to export, and if you hit STL, you could save that to your desktop or wherever you want, and then you could import that into your slicing program and slice it, and you have a very simplistic 32 millimeter base. what we're going to end up doing is we want something that has a base that has a little bit of angle on the sides. So that's the next one that we're going to take a look at and how we can build that. So there, we're going to go over here to our basic shapes on the right, and we're going to look for a cone. Now on the cone, we'll bring that over here, and there is our cone. Now we can change some stuff as far as like the top, and we'll leave that at 0. We could change the base, and we could change the height, and we could change the number of sides, which we want to do. We'll crank that all the way up. And then basically what I end up doing is I could take this over. Well, I guess we could just, click over here and do 32. And we do 32. And we'd have the same size, but it's going to be the edge. So that edge is going to be 32. Well, we want it to go up a little bit. So what we can end up doing to try to get that slanted base is we'll move this up, and we want to keep moving this up until we get kind of something about like that. And so we've got a little bit of an angle on there, as you can see right there. So now what we can end up doing is we've got that, and that's pretty close, I could say. Again, it's going to be 32 millimeters. So as that little, I guess, incline or that angle that kind of angles in, as it tapers up, as it goes up, you're not going to get 32 millimeters. So it's going to be a little bit smaller. So if you want this, probably what you could end up doing is going to 33. And we could do this one to 33. And then that way you get almost get like a 32 millimeter on the top. Now, how are we going to get this on the top? What we need is this piece over here, which is going to be our hole. It's going to be a box and it's going to be a hole. So we'll click that, go onto the work plane, and we'll kind of tilt up. We'll move this over here, and we'll just kind of move some of this stuff. We hold shift, it'll make all the dimensions increase or decrease in scale without messing one of those, instead of just kind of pulling like that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll pull this up. And now what we want to end up doing is we want to pull this up 5 millimeters. So if we grab this little black arrow that we have here, and if we can see down on here, it says 1, what we could end up doing is just typing a 5, and that'll take it up 5 millimeters. So we get that right there. So now we could hold shift, click on to the little purple part there, and we'll go up to the top where it says Union Group. We'll hit that, and what that's going to do is going to merge that hole, the box or the rectangle, and the cone that we have. And now what we end up having is a base with a little bit of a slant to it. So that's more, that kind of looks more professional than just having something as just a flat up disc. So how do we make a lava disc? How do we make a lava base out of this? This is the interesting part, because now we're going to have to go over here to where we have our basic shapes, and we have this little magnifying glass. So with this magnifying glass, we'll just go ahead and put this here, and if I can remember how to, there it is. And it's this one right here, which is, I'll drag this over, and that is the Veroni. And so if we actually take a look, I'll kind of make this bigger to make sure that everybody can see that. Your Veroni is that shape right there. So we're going to have some pieces. We're going to change the pieces that we can have on this thing, and we can change the width of the, I guess the space between all these pieces, and it comes out, it's a pretty good little thing. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump into this. So we'll take a look at this, and we can scale this to whatever size we want. Okay, so if we just hold the shift and click on one of the corners, we'll make this, I don't know, let's see, what is that? About 39, yeah, that's good enough. Close enough for government work. Because basically we want to have that go on top, but we need to be able to have, it needs to be cut out in a circle. But before we do that, we want to look at some of the options that we have over here. So let's go ahead and get into this. And if we've got the randomizer 5000, you can end up changing the number of pieces that you have, or I guess the pattern that you have, not the number of pieces. They call them reference cells, but it will just change how they're organized onto that plane or that area. You can see as we shift here, it'll just put them in different positions, and you can find one that works for you. Now, if you think if there's too many of these, they call them cells. Each one of these little segments here, they call a cell, and there's currently 16. So if we go, and I think that's the minimum you can get, and then if we go to like 111, yeah, this is going to be interesting. So, wow, now we got a mosaic of like broken tiles, which could be used for a base. But the distances between those are going to be really, really small. So you might want to change that a little bit. So we're going to go back down to, I don't know, let's try 50 and see what that looks like. And let's do a little bit more. Let's go to 45. And let's say if I wanted to, I could go over here to the number, click on that box, and let's say I go to 20. And that will change the number of cells in there as well. We can also change the tile size. So on the tile size, it's set at 20. And so if we increase it, it will eventually change, and that will increase the entire block of this. As you can see, it got pretty huge. So I just leave that alone because we can resize it by using, either these little black squares here or the corners and shift. Cell spacing, this is where we're going to get that space in between those individual cells or pieces. So now it's at 0.25 millimeters. That's super tiny, super tiny. So we're going to increase that, and let's say 0.4, and it's going to wait, it's going to process, and we can see that we've got a little bit more distance between the pieces. And if we can continue on, we can make something even a little bit more. So now that's starting to look a little bit more like a base, like a lava with the channels and things like that. You can increase this to the point of where it's like, we got a 1.2 and boom. So we got a fair amount of distance. The other thing that we could end up doing is changing the cell height, and it's currently set at 2, but if we set it like 3.6, what that'll end up doing is increasing, come on, let's go, increase the height, increase the height, increase the height. This is really it's just not, I don't know what the deal is on that. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let's put it down to 1 and see what happens. This is an online or web-based program, Tinkercad. So the more complex operations that you do, or if you have a lot of pieces and you do things, obviously, we've got 20 pieces here, it'll take a little bit of time. So we're just going to drive on with that. The other thing we could end up doing is we have peaks. So if we hit peaks, what that'll end up doing is, if this is going to be stuck, I think it might be stuck. Don't you love live streaming? It's just love live streaming. Let's go ahead. We'll go back over, we'll grab this again, and boom. That's what it was. Node fails to load. So we'll bring this out again, and this time we'll do 20 cells. And the cell spacing, we'll increase that. And we'll go a little bit more because we want a decent amount of space between these. And let's just go a little bit more. We'll give that a shot. That looks good. And then if we go to peaks, cross your fingers and let's see if we can get the peaks to work. Okay, so we got some peaks there. So you can make a different type of base. This might be something that you want to do. The other thing you can end up doing is hitting varying heights, and then that will change the peaks on here, where some of them will be low, some of them will be higher. Again, it varies the heights of those peaks. So that's a different type of base that you could do as well. I mean, it's really blocky, polygonal, if that's a word. We're just going to go ahead and say that's a word. But that's not what we're going to end up using. So we'll just unclick all those and we'll keep this shape here. So now the question is, how are we going to get the square, make the square a circle so that we can get our pattern on top of our base? Now this is a really good one. So we're going to have to close that, go to the right hand side, go back to our basic shapes, and we're going to go to down here, boom, our tube. So let's click the tube, and we want a different color here. So let's go ahead and we'll change this to, yeah, how about a blue? And with this, there's some interesting things that you can do with this, because actually this can be a solid, as we see here, it's on blue on the top, or if we go over here, we can click that and we can make that a hole. So anything that is within that grayed area can be deleted from that part. But what we'll end up doing, so it's easier to see, is we'll just leave this blue, and we can change the radius on how big that is. We can change the wall thickness, which is something that we probably want to do. So we're just, and the number of sides, we'll just crank that up. You could do the bevel, you could have the bevel segments as we saw with the other pieces. But basically what we want to do is we want to drag this over here, and we want to make sure that it's about the same size as the top of our tapered thing there. Now, a way to help us do that is, since this is selected, hit the T key for transparent, and boom, we got a little bit of transparency action there. And if we click that, hold shift and then click our base, they're both selected together. Or we could just kind of left click and draw and get both of those, go up to the top where it says align, and then we could click on the purple and we will align it so that everything is centered. And if we take a look at this, we end up that we've got, see how we've got a little bit of space there? Hey, we got Ferris that's there. Hey, good morning. Good to see you. We're doing a lava base in Tinkercad. So notice how we got a little bit of space right there. So we want to click off of this, and we'll kind of bring this, oh, I don't want the whole thing. I just want that. And we'll bring this out a couple more. We'll just left click and select both of those. We'll hit the align, do the little purple base that we have, hit the center of those, and we can kind of go in here and we can see, that's pretty darn close. That's going to be close enough for government work. So now the good news is we have our tube that we can place over our model here. And what we can end up seeing is that with this Voronoi piece that is in kind of like the tan or orange, all of this stuff here within the blue, if we go to whole, is going to be deleted. And that's going to leave us with these little parts here. So we can end up kind of moving it around a little bit, and we can kind of get, I don't know, that looks pretty good, I think, something like that. And this will move in like 1 millimeter increments. But if we go down here to the bottom right, you have your settings. You could change this so it's 1/2, quarter, or 1 millimeter. So now if we set it to 1 millimeter, we've got a little bit more free-flowing action. And we could do something kind of like that. And so now, that looks pretty good. That'll work. Or we could do something like that. And we're going to have a little bit. And see how on this corner here, so you need to make your tube big enough So, and the outer walls or the wall thickness big enough so it'll, take everything away, or it'll cover the areas that you want to delete. So what we can end up doing is we could left click and drag, select both of those, go up to the top where it says Union Group. We hit Union Group. It'll go ahead and do that thing, and boom, there it is. And now what we can end up doing is we can move this on top of our base here. Now there's a trick to do this, because trying to get that on the face of that model is kind of problematic, and I was having problems with it. So I put something on the top, but it wasn't really on the top. And so when I deleted it, or when I exported it and printed it, they weren't connected. So I'm going to show you how I did this. If we go up here to the top right, we see the work plane tool. Click that, and we're going to go to the top of our base, as we see there, and that is going to be the new work plane. So we're going to go ahead and click that. So now we see that this is now the bottom of our work plane. So if I grab my piece over here, and what I could do is kind of like do this and that or whatever, but even if it's high above, if I hit the D key, D is in delta, that'll drop that down to the work plane level. And so now that'll be right on there. Now, the other thing we could end up doing is we could left click and drag and get both of those. Go up to the top right, we'll go to the Align tool. We'll click our little purple base and center it, and there it is. So now you might be wondering, well, how do we get the work plane back to normal? Well, we go up to the work plane, we'll hit the work plane tool, and we'll drag that over like we can see over here. Click that, and now the regular work plane is now the normal work plane. So there is our base with our little lava rocks on top of there. But what we can end up doing is let's drop this down, and let's go back down here at the bottom right, and we'll make it 1 millimeter. And so there's 1. There's 2, you could make it 3, whatever you wanted to end up being, 3 millimeters. I mean, that could be good. You could do something like that, and there is your lava base. So, yeah. Now, what we can end up doing with this, we could left click and select both of those. We go up here to the top where it says Union Group or Control G. We click that, and now it makes that part all one piece. So now with this, what we can end up doing is we go up here to the top right, and we can hit Export, and we have the option of OBJ, STL, SVG for laser cutting, and yeah, 3D print. I've never done that one before. Interesting. But we just want to download it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit STL. And whatever you name this in the top left-hand corner, that will be the name of the item. So now that this is downloaded, and what we end up seeing there is our base. So yeah, we just take that into our slicer and boom, do your settings and all that stuff, and you can actually print out your little lava miniature base or whatever miniature base that you want. Now, the other thing you can end up doing is you might say, hey, well, I don't want a circle, I want something like a hex. There are other shapes that are available, like this polygon here, and you could do the same thing and make a base as well. So let's go ahead and drag this out. We'll make it about right there. We'll do the number of sides. You can change it, of course, with 3 sides, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to end up doing. And then we can just drop that down to like 5, and you could do the same thing, except trying to make a kind of like the Voronoi piece that we did on this piece here, to do it on here, that's a little bit more complicated. You would have to play with basically, if I wanted to do a hole for that, we don't have a tube with polygons, okay? So we would have to go down here, and we'll click on a basic shape of a square. We'll go ahead and make this bigger. We'll drop this down and we'll just make that like so. And then let's go ahead and make this bigger. We'll drag that to the center. We will make this polygon and we'll make it a hole. We'll combine these two here. And again, we can do the Control G or click up there. And now we have that. So if we could make this a hole. So this is kind of interesting. Go ahead and we'll make that a hole. And then we could go back to our Moroni. And if you take it and you click on the little star that's in that top right there, that'll put it into the favorites folder. So that way favorite shapes and whatever in Tinkercad that you like, they're easily accessible. So let's go ahead and do that, and we will just kind of bring this out like so, and we'll make sure that it's smaller. And let's just change the number of cells a little bit. And we will change the cell spacing. And then we could drag this baby over here and get the shape that we want. Let's say we want, I think that's good enough for government work. We left click, drag, select. We'll union group all of these together. And then there you can make that shape to go on top of your hex polygon thing that you made. So that's kind of a cool way in which you can manipulate different shapes. You can make holes. I mean, this is about as high speed as I get on Tinkercad. So Ferrithus says, Steve, the Tinkercad magician. No. Absolute madness. I don't think I've ever seen anyone this proficient in Tinkercad before. Well, thank you for the compliment. But the cooler stuff is yet to come. And you could probably do this with any other type of shape. So if you end up, if you go back to the basic shapes, you've got squares, you've got your cylinders, your polygons. I think that, you could do hearts as a shape. Here's an interesting one there. You could do something like that. Of course, that's like a diamond shape. But let's say you really love this shape here and you just can't get the polygon thing to work. How are we going to change this so it doesn't have this diamond thing that's sticking down? Well, here's a way that we can do that. Let's go back to our holes, and we'll bring this out here. And what we'll end up doing is we'll just make this big enough, and we'll put that into the center. Oops, not that. We need to grab our actual box here, make sure it's big enough to cut everything. And then what we could end up doing, kind of move that so we can see, we'll click this and we will drag this up to, we can see how that's where it's going to cut off. And if we go to this bottom right, we could change the increments of which this is going to go up and down. So again, that'll be 0.1, so we can get some that looks pretty good right there. And so now we just move this to the center of that, and we left click and drag, select all of those. We're going to do Control G or Union Join, and boom, now that has a bottom piece. And if we hit D, the Delta key, it'll drop it onto the floor and we're good to go. And then we could do something like this and bring up our shape and kind of, do that there. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways in which you can kind of play around and make some bases that we end up seeing. So interesting little things that you can do. And yeah, the lava base. Or we can just do a basic disc. And again, if we wanted to change, here's another thing. If you don't like the Barney basic disc, but you want a little bit of a beveled edge on this, you can go over here to bevel. And if we change the bevel and we change the number of segments, we can see how it's got a little bit of an arc on there. But you're also going to have that on the bottom, and that's not going to print out well. So again, what we could end up doing, and let's just raise this up 1 millimeter. So you can either pull it up, up or down like this, or what we could end up doing is, let's just say 7. And then in the same way, we could take our whole box, we could do this. And then here's another little trick that you could end up doing, because we want to make the top of this the work plane. So we'll go up here to the top right where it says the work plane tool. We can click on top of the whole box and boom, now we can click on our little disc. We hit D and now that'll bring that up to the same plane as our box. But it's sitting on top of the hollowing box that we have. So we're going to drop this down until it gets to the point of where doesn't have any beveled edge on the bottom. So let's see, let's just break that down one more, and then we can left click and drag, select both of those. We'll do the group together and boom, there you go. As you can see, we have a nice smooth bottom without that bevel like we have on the top. So to get back to our regular work plane, go up here to the work plane tool, click that, somewhere off of the yellow colored, and we'll get back to the normal work plane. We'll go ahead and hit D or Delta, and boom, there it is. There is our little bit rounded off base. So here it is, Barney Basic base. We did our little lava base, and then we did some kind of a weird thing here with a type of different base there. So, and using the hole tools and things like that. So with that, we can do a lot of cool stuff. Ends up, Bree 19743 says watching and learning. All right, cool, awesome. Thanks for coming on to the show. Faritha says Steve designs in hard mode. No, I don't think so. There's other people who are way better than me. Steve is a bevel with a single segment, a chamfer. Let's take a look. That's a good question. See, I don't know everything. I told you I don't know everything. Okay, so we're going to have to undo this because it will only get that information if we ungroup it. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So remember how we made that bottom flat. If we select that, we don't see the things that we can change, like the bevels, the segments, and so on and so forth. So if we go up here to the top where it says ungroup or Control-Shift-G, then what you end up having is it'll ungroup that whole box. So we just off click and we'll select the box, we'll hit the delete key, and now we're left with that. It's a little bit below the work plane, so we're just going to go ahead and hit D. And now the question was, is a bevel with a single segment a chamfer? Let's find out. Let us find out and see. So a single segment. Nope, that just keeps it the Barney Basic disc. And we don't get that. With the bevel and then the number of segments, we can see, I wonder if we change the color, if that'll be a little bit more evident. We can kind of see, yeah, we zoom in here. It's kind of hard to see, but you can barely see the different segments there. So we got 4 segments, there's 3, there's 2, and then there's 1. So there's a good representation of that. So Faritha says, okay, yes, a bevel with 1 segment is a chamfer. Okay, so I learned what a chamfer is. See, everybody helping everybody out. So yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff that you can end up doing. Faritha says that a chamfer is just a straight cut. Bevel is round. I knew the bevel was round. I didn't, honestly, to be honest, I didn't know what a chamfer was. I'm 59 years old and I didn't know what a chamfer was, but I do now. So yes, good, good, good. Yes, hardcore mode. A disc with a beveled top would be 5 clicks in Fusion. You just perform a full on-dance choreography. That's hard mode. Okay. I don't know. This seems like shapes and colors for me. This is like the crayon level, excuse me, a crayon level of CAD, and that's kind of my thing here. So yeah. But now what we want to end up doing is we want to take a look, and everything's all fine and dandy. You know, you make it in Tinkercad and you export it. You got to print it out. And yeah, matter of fact, let's pull up and I'll show you. Dun, 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 dun. We actually ended up printing this out. So let's take a look. Okay, there it is. So quick little print. It didn't take much. And if I remember correctly, how much did that cost and how long did it take? That is the question. So let's take a look at that. So here it is. And there's our little base that we ended up making. Again, pretty cool, works out well. And then when we previewed it, it ended up that it's 12 minutes and 27 seconds, and we had a 0.12 layer height, so it took a little bit of time. 3.51 grams. Oh my gosh. And it cost 7 cents. 7 cents. 7 cents for that little baby to print out there. Yeah, 3.51 grams. Not bad. 7 cents. That's 7 cents. 7 cents. So, Bree says, I've been struggling with Blender. Tinkercad is a good introduction to CAD. Yeah, I mean, the other ones like Blender and Fusion and all that stuff, I'm starting to look into FreeCAD as maybe, I don't know. It's just totally opposite from Tinkercad. Tinkercad is just like, again, the crayon box of CAD, and I can relate to that. It seems to work well for me, but I want to try to learn something and do something a little bit more detailed, and the learning curve is going to be a little bit harder. But yeah, the Tinkercad, you could do some pretty simple stuff, pretty straightforward. I've made a number of models on Creality Cloud that I posted for free. Matter of fact, if we want to go take a look at those, all the stuff that I have on my Creality Cloud, and if we take a look at that, where is it? Boom! There it is. And I will put this down in the comment box. Varied Life free models. So that's in the comment section. And you can see that all this stuff has been made in Tinkercad. So a painting handle, that's the new one that I ended up doing. Little paint marker, you know, stand, little cell phone door thing, rotating paint rack, palette knife, you know, you got some other things there, some paint racks for army painter. Excuse me, you know, paintbrush holders, airbrush holders. That's about the extent of my modeling career, so to speak. So you can find that on the Varied Life on Creality Cloud. Again, it's made with Tinkercad, and you know, your mileage will vary. But yeah, it's been fun. I like it. I enjoy it. But how does it work in real life? I mean, it's fine to do it in Tinkercad, and it looks okay, but does it look any good? And that's where we're going to take a look. So we're going to show you, here are some pictures of what we have. And let's see, can we move this? Nope, the other way. So we can make this a little bit bigger. So there it is. It came off of the printer, boom, like that. The top surface is a little squirrely, but sometimes I get that with Tinkercad stuff. And then we started painting and adding some stuff. So we did some little terrain mud on there. We put some white in those cracks and everything. So it's starting to give it a little bit of color. And then we continued on and we put some black on there. And we also kind of sealed it in with some varnish. So we did that. And then we started doing this here. We started adding some colors. So we did some red. And then after the red, we ended up doing a little bit of yellow on there, you know, around the edges and things like that. So it started to look a little bit better. And then we started adding some oranges and yeah, looks a little bit better. But what does it look like now? That is the question. So here is the finished product. I guess I should have left that right there. So there is our finished product, and boom. I actually put one of the little miniatures from One Page Rules on there. As you can see, I finished up the base. I ended up doing some more orange and yellow, kind of like a high-vis yellow, and then went back and put a little bit of black on top of the lava rocks that we made. And then I actually ended up getting some gray and doing some dry brush over the rocks to get a little bit more definition on those rocks, and it turned out pretty good. So yeah, there it is. There it is. Let's see if we can blow this up, and there, boom. There is our guy, and it worked. It worked out pretty good. So you could mess around with, now the sign is, let's just get that sign, move that somewhere else. So yeah, the cool thing is that you can make, remember how polygonal the base looked? And it's like, yeah, how in the world is that ever going to look like a lava rock? You know, you just had to put a little bit of terrain on there. We used, what was it? Green Stuff World, little terrain mix, a little mud thing that we put on there. Let that dry. Put in some white, some different colors, and it came out pretty darn good. I think, you know, so you don't have to be stuck with buying bases on, you know, on some website or something like that, or, you know, where you got to pay a lot of money. Again, like I said, it was 7 cents. 7 cents. That's how much it was. You could probably, what was the setting? I had 0.12 layer height. I had 2 wall loops. I probably should have done 3. But I did 15% infill with grid infill. I could have made that adaptive cubic and, you know, probably down to 5 or 7%, which let's change that and see how much that would come out to. So there it is. And let's just make a little bit of change. 0.12 layer height, because I wanted it to look nice. Wall loops, let's increase that to 3, and then we would go down here to strength. Nope, that's not what we want. We want here infill density. We could change that to 5%. We could change that to adaptive cubic, and everything else is the same. We'll go ahead and we'll slice the plate, and maybe this will. Look over here in the top left, 12 minutes, 30 seconds, 3.11 grams, and it is 6 cents. So we can save a little bit of money by not using gyroid for our infill. I could have saved a penny by using adaptive cubic. And there we can end up saying, so yeah, it's a base. It's not anything crazy, you know. We're going to get our 3 wall loops in there. It'll give a little bit of strength on there. And again, it's just a miniature. It's a mini. Even if we go through and we need to change it to 3 wall loops. I was wondering. It's still 7 cents. So, yeah. And then if you wanted a real smooth top on there, what you could end up doing is you could iron it. Where is the ironing? Ironing all top surfaces, you could do that. And that's going to take that up to, it's 16 minutes and 5 seconds. Oh, Lord forbid. How, that's crazy. It's still 7 cents. Just take a minute or two more. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, a 7 cent base that you're going to have to do a little bit of extra work anyway. This saves you some time from crumpling up, like cardboard or dirt or whatever. But those are viable, base building tools as well. But again, yeah, it turned out really good. Turned out really good. There it is. Our man. Bum, bum, bum. Doesn't that look good? Put a little gold ring around the bottom there. Yeah, it was nice. Matter of fact, I just so happened to have it. And there he is. So I don't know if this is going to focus. Of course not. I really want a better camera. But you can kind of get the idea. And it turned out fairly well with that. And yeah, it just ended up working well. Seriously, focus, focus. I don't know. This Facecam 4K is not, it's good for shots like this, but for close-up stuff, it is definitely not, it's not what I like. So yeah, there it is. Turned out pretty good. A little bit of dry brush and gray. You get some of the details on there for the rocks. Of course, that was just a little grimy terrain. You could do the same thing with like PVA glue, some sand and dirt, put on the PVA glue, dunk it upside down into the sand, and boom, you could get a similar type of effect. So don't think that you have to use or buy, specifically, you don't have to buy like Green Stuff World texture or this or that, or Games Workshop mud or whatever. A lot of that stuff can be made with just PVA glue. The Elmer's glue, the white glue, with a little bit of dirt, sand, or whatever it is. People go out and buy cork. Just tear up some cardboard and put it on there, and put that PVA glue. And you'll be surprised on what you can end up doing with just regular, I guess, trash items. You can make some pretty cool bases. So that's what we got going on. Oh, we got Swedish in the house now. Rocking it, represent. We got Terry that's popped in and said hi. So yeah, we got that going on. Interesting stuff. And yeah, I think we're going to conclude this. That is how we can make a 32 millimeter base. Or what if you want a larger base? Let's get into that. Take a look at that. If we wanted a larger base, because like we said, this is 32, actually it's 33. Let's make that 32, because I don't want to lie. That's a 32 millimeter base. So now, if we wanted to make this like a 65 millimeter base, because we got a larger statue, we just click on the white corner, and we'll do 65. And we'll click on that little box, hit that, and do 65 as well. And so now we have our 32 millimeter, we have our 65, and let's say we want to make this 100. Let's go for gold. Yep. That's got to change. It's not 1. It's got to be 100. And so there, we got 3 different base sizes that we can have. And using that Voronoi shape tool to do kind of those raised edges, we can come up with a variety of different bases in different sizes. So basically what you can end up doing is you can make one base in 32 millimeter, and then you can scale it to whatever size you want, bigger, smaller. You can end up changing and make it, kind of like that. So if you have a different type of character and you want a longer, elongated base, you could do that as well. Same thing with this. You could kind of scoot this over and, you could change some stuff. And yeah, it's just some neat little things that you can end up doing. The possibilities are endless. So yeah, there it is. What we ended up doing is finishing up and doing a bunch of base work in Tinkercad, which isn't that hard once you know the little tricks on how to do it. And again, it just an inordinate amount of time of watching videos on YouTube, been able to glean a bunch of stuff and then playing around with it. That's the most important thing, just playing around and seeing how to get this stuff to work for you. Nothing worse than having a program and not being able to do what you want because you don't know how the stuff works. So yeah, the learning curve on this is short. It's small compared to like Fusion 360 or FreeCAD. I actually got the FreeCAD. I downloaded that. It's it's a little. The learning curve is going to be a little rough there, but it should be an interesting little project. Maybe I'll make some stuff with that. So anyway, yeah, there it is. All the stuff that I offer for free on the Creality Cloud page that I have, all free models, all has been made with Tinkercad. So. And Inventive says you really made Tinkercad look easy. Thank you. You're welcome. It's a lot of stuff that you could end up doing, and it's once you get the basics down and it's like, oh, okay, boom. It just works out really well. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you overthink things and you just need to go simple instead of complicated. But that's part of the learning process, and that's the fun. That's kind of the enjoyment. My wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm working on this base. I'm working on this paint handle thing, or this shelf for my paints or whatever. And she's like, how many days are you going to do that? It's like, I'm working on it. So the good thing is that as I continue working and practicing in Tinkercad, it doesn't take me as long as it used to. So that's the thing there. Ferrithus says, nice job, Steve. Sent you an email earlier today with an interesting technique to modify miniatures. Really? Ooh. Ferrithus is our resident smart person. And let's pull up and see. Oh, it's a YouTube video. Swedish Forge asked Steve, what have I missed? Showed how to use Tinkercad to make, basically what we ended up doing is showing how we could make a miniature base, using Tinkercad. And then what we ended up doing is going through and, I already got, there was the model that we ended up doing, and there is our volcanic base. So yeah, the miniature I already had, but we ended up making the base in Tinkercad, and then we printed it out and then add some few things, some colors, shapes and colors. And then we came out with a pretty cool looking little miniature dude here. So yeah, boom. Nice little lava base. I really wish this would focus, but the autofocus on this is horrible. So again, once my allowance comes through, we will be changing that out. So yeah, it turned out pretty nice. So that's what we got going on there. Bree says, I'm looking forward to learning some more tinkered tricks. Yeah, there's some good stuff. I got some Tinkercad stuff on my page, so if you look at the videos, put in Tinkercad, something will pop up. Swedish Forge gives a shout out to Mr. Ferrithus. He's pretty good. So that's what we got going on. Okay, some other stuff that we have. If we take a look, what am I going to be doing next? If we take a look at the table there is the axe. The Warhammer axe. So I've got all the pieces. I actually even have super glue and activator, the professional activator stuff. And so we're going to be gluing that together in another video. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow or the day after. Been taking a few days off because of my shoulder. I tweaked it a little bit. and I was doing weighted dips with 45, 65, 70 pounds, and I'm 260, so it was like 330 or something like that. And as I was going down, it tweaked my shoulder right here. So, I mean, I'm old. I'm 59. I need to chill out. Maybe I'll just do weighted dips with a 45-pound plate, maybe instead of a 45 and a 25. So, I'm getting too old for that. So anyway, taking some time off. So I'm thinking Thursday, if I don't have a squirrel moment, we'll do the Warhammer action. We'll put that together and see how that works. So yeah, that has been printed and waiting. And then eventually that's going to need painted as well. So yeah. One big axe. Yes, it is. That is going to be a big axe. It's going to be cool. It is going to be cool. Yeah. Swedish Forge says he is 53. Wow. Yeah, I wish I got involved in stuff like this when I was younger, but unfortunately when I was young, it was like wargaming, Dungeons and Dragons, all that stuff was kid stuff. And then I did my military career, worked law enforcement, worked in prisons, did ministry and stuff like that. Upscale security, did all that, and I didn't, shooting and blowing up stuff. That was my life, and I realized I missed out so much on having fun. I mean, I had fun blowing up stuff and shooting, shooting competitions and stuff like that, firearms instructor. But the 3D printing stuff, it's been great. I love it, and that's what it comes down to. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to love it. If you like it and you love it and you enjoy it, you'll get good at it. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and everybody has their own individual starting point. Some people are like professional artists, and then they get into painting minis, and their first one is like, oh my God, it's incredibly awesome. People like me, you do your first one, you're like, that's a little rough, But as you learn over time and you enjoy that process, do it. Have some fun. Yeah. Swedish Forge says, I started printing a year ago. I've been printing almost every day since. Print addiction. Yes, printing is an addiction. 3D printing, resin printing. It is an addiction. It's you might as well as do cracker meth because you're going to pay money either way. The good thing is that with 3D printing, it's not illegal, at least so far. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and end this. Usually we do a longer stream and everything, but I wanted to cut this and just kind of keep it on how to use Tinkercad to make a 32 millimeter base or whatever size base that you want. There's some great things that you can end up doing. Now, I did try to import a skull into Tinkercad that I could put on the base. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it. But the problem is, if we look in Tinkercad, you can import things, but let me see if I can find that little tiny skull that we ended up. Skulls. I think they ended up being, nope. Was it the desktop? I can't find that. Let me get back here. So I think I'd have a better chance of finding it. Okay, I think I got there. Yeah, it doesn't work. I tried downloading some skulls off of Colt's 3D page, the purple page, and found some cool STLs that were free, that were, skulls that had scars on them, or they're broken, the jaw was off or whatever. I wanted to shrink that down and put that onto a base, but it ends up it's too big for Tinkercad to handle. So I imported it into my slicing program, made it really, really small, and then exported that as an STL file, and then tried to import that into Tinkercad, and it still wouldn't work. So yeah, you're kind of limited on the things that you can import into Tinkercad. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that, because I can't remember off the top of my head. So if we import something, file size up to 25 megs right there, megabytes, which is, that's small. You know, it has to be a real simplistic model, has to be something that's not complicated. And again, if it's 25, you know, if it's over 25 megabytes, it's just not going to go in there, which is one of the things that I wish Tinkercad would improve, is the amount that you could import into the program. They need to get on the ball. Tinkercad, if you're watching, you need to fix that. At least make it double, you know, 50 meg. 100? Let's just start with 50 and improve that. So, okay, so that's going to be it. We finished up, and again, we have our ultra cool little guy there. If he pops up, no, he's not popping up there. Really? We're not gonna. That's what happens when I delete things. Let me see if I can find him. Downloads? No, it's not downloads. Pictures? No, it was downloads. There it is. Boom. So there it is. There's our little guy. And that's even the wrong base because it's got the, it's close enough. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We did the thing, we did the base, we printed it out, we put a little miniature on there, and turned out pretty good for the most part. So, kind of some fun stuff. With that being said, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. And if you want to get in touch with me, there's my email address, officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. I always answer my emails, give it 1 or 2 days, but I always answer it. There's a bunch of people who bought me coffee, you can do that, but the very best thing that you could do is like and subscribe to the channel. That would be preferred. So, but any coffee that I do get, and Lord knows I love my lattes, yes. Anything that goes back to the channel goes into cool stuff. You know, we're not buying filament, we're not buying paint. I end up taking the few nickels and dimes that I get off of the coffee fund or whatever, what I make off of YouTube, and I pour that back into, you know, things like lights or microphones or, you know, better cameras and things like that. So it kind of offsets it a little bit. But the good thing is that even if nobody donates or buys coffee or any of that stuff, I'm still going to make videos and share this stuff because I'm enjoying it, I have fun, and yeah, life is too short to not have fun, so we're going to do that. Alrighty, we did the thing with that. Enjoy your day. Good seeing everyone. Yes, you too as well, and everybody have a good day. Be a good person. Print, paint, have fun, enjoy life. Again, it's too short to do anything else. So we're going to do that. I'm hangry. You probably not. It's probably dinner where you all are at, but I'm hangry. I haven't had breakfast, and it's 8:30, and I'm starving. So we're going to let y'all go. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next video. Yes. Do the little hand pink waving thing there. Yeah. We're going to finish it. That's how we're going to finish it. It is good.